this is Dodger, and you're watching my show.
Three, two, one, ready, go.
Just throwing it out there, but I have a pretty cool shirt on sale right now. Oh, what does it say? What could possibly be on it? Could it say Cat Gang with a frickin' gangster kitty on the front and Meow Meow Mother Lover on the back? It's awesome. It was designed by our animator, the same guy who does all of our intros and all of our little thumbnail doogers and stuff, Danny. If you follow him at Oryozema, Oryozema, please tell him how amazing his design is because it's super awesome. And if you're interested in purchasing one of these shirts or at least checking them out and seeing what the options are, you can find that on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/dexteritybonus, or there's a Teespring link. I think it's teespring.com/twitch/catgang, but I'm not positive. So I'll link in the description and now we'll know for sure. But for our first piece of news, we finally got an Overwatch animated short. Oh my gosh, it's so cute! I mean, it's like part of it is cute, right? Part of it's very serious, part of it's cute. It's long enough that you get to have that full experience. It's like an 8-minute long video. So it's kind of nice to know that when Blizzard said, hey, we're gonna be doing like animated videos as companion pieces to Overwatch that's really gonna flesh out the world and explain the characters a bit more, that they were not lying. I'll link that in the description, but it's fantastic. Anybody who's really loved the cinematic experiences that Blizzard has given us in the past for other games, like imagine if Blizzard was like, all right, Pixar does pretty well, so let's try to go in a Pixar direction and see if we can make an animated short that's comparable to that, and my god, do they nail it. I love Overwatch. I love the characters in Overwatch. I'm really excited to see how these animated shorts continue, and I hope that the quality continues to be really, really high because this first one was just so good. So absolutely check that out. I will link in the description and enjoy, man. The Game Trailers team has come back together. Any of you who don't know what happened with them, basically they became part of the Defy Network and then were shut down as Game Trailers. So everybody kept wondering whether or not the Game Trailers team would come back together and try to do something different. For me at least, like, my Game Trailers show that I loved was Final Bossman. So, and it's not just because I know Kyle, and Kyle is an amazing dude, and we're like friends who've played games together and stuff, is because that show is great. And I think anybody who watched a lot of Game Trailers saw them as a very unified voice, right? They had worked together for so long on Game Trailers that everything felt very cohesive. The team really worked together. So seeing them possibly disband was really sad. Fortunately for you, dear viewer, they have rebranded themselves as Easy Allies. There's a video that you can watch where they talk about their Patreon and what their plan is and the sort of content that they want to make. It's exciting, I think. I mean, it's not all of the exact same people, but it's enough of the group that I think most people who were big fans of Game Trailers are gonna look and be like, okay, awesome. Everyone is outside my door right now. Just everybody in the world talking about God knows what. So it turns out the NX controllers that we absolutely saw proof of last week are totally fake. Yay! We saw this picture where there was like a reflection of a tree in the controller. It looked fairly legit. It had like a sticker on it that was like, do not take out of the building or something like that. And this tree, this one tree, oh my god, guys, people were trying to find that tree outside of developers' offices for days. We had 2 different instances of this, so when one was corroborated as being fake, everybody said, well, what about the other one? Maybe the other one is real and it's just like a coinky-dink. Turns out neither of them are true. One of them was just made as like a digital photograph. One of them was created with a 3D printer and looked super legit, but was not. And to be fair, it looks exactly like the patent that Nintendo made. Like, there's a legitimate picture that looks like this dumb controller that's like an egg with 2 little dingles on the side, and that's like Nintendo patented that as a potential jumping off point for a controller. So when these pictures came out, everyone said, well, it looks identical. It looks exactly like the controller that Nintendo was talking about making. So I think it wasn't too hard for people to leap on it, right? To just be like, yep, that looks right. Fortunately, it's not true, but I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see something that looks identical and they're like, no, that's real. No, that's definitely the controller we're doing. I find it very hard to believe though, because we know that with the Nintendo NX, they're trying to bridge a lot of things, right? It's supposed to be a console that you can hook up to your TV, but also double as a handheld, but also maybe pull into the mobile world. So I doubt that they would have a controller that's so minimal. I mean, yes, part of the difficulty there is figuring out how do you make a controller and a system that is still simple in its UI and how you utilize it, but does all of those things that they want. I think this is too simple though. Guys, I think like one little egg with two dingle dangles is too simple. But for any of you who fell for it, there you go. It's fake. It's all fake. Pokken has been taken off pretty well. People are really liking it. For those of you who don't know, Pokken is a game. It's a fighting game between Pokemans. It's pretty fun. I'll be totally honest. Sam's been playing a ton of it. He's like really good at it already. I've just done all of the tutorials and done like the combos and stuff. I haven't actually played against for reals people yet, but the game itself, like the way that it works is interesting. Like it has two different phases. It's got support Pokemon that you can bring in to help you out. All kinds of stuff. So the strategies of playing it are a bit different from other fighting games. Now, here's a problem that was found. Shofu actually did a video on it. I'll link to Shofu's video because he does a really good job of explaining it. But basically, there's a character called Shadow Mewtwo. So there's regular Mewtwo that you can play, and there's also Shadow Mewtwo. They are not just recolorings of each other. They're actually separate characters. Shadow Mewtwo has an infinite block stun, which means he has moves that he can do over and over and over and over again that never allow you to get out of block and escape it. So if you manage to block it right off the bat, you're just gonna be stuck there taking chip damage until you're dead. Now this sounds pretty broken, right? Like that sounds like a pretty broken thing. I'm sure since it's become this big story that a lot of people have talked about, specifically in the community, of course, I assume that Nintendo is looking into fixing that somehow. And that's always, I mean, guys, that's always gonna happen. There have been so many games where just people figure out combos that take you from 100 to 0 in one go, right? Like every now and then there's going to be a situation like that where you go, that is so broken, we need to fix that. But like everything else having to do with Pokken has been really clean. It's weird. Like every time anybody that I know plays Pokken, they get matches one right after the other. Matchmaking has not been a problem at all. It's actually been really good at first looking at who's available in like your same difficulty range and then sort of widening the pool. Like very rarely are you against somebody who is not as good as you or way better than you. So like, yeah, there are some growing pains. And yes, this game was out in Japan as like an arcade system for a year, I believe, before it was released as an actual console game. So if that existed there, this infinite stun block, right? If that lived there in the arcade version and was not fixed for the console version, that would be very strange because I know they definitely rebalanced some things. Like Gengar was super OP, I guess, in the arcade version, so they had to fix that for the console version. They are actively trying to make changes, but it's, I'm sure, been really exciting for them to see how well this game is done so far. Like I know they're adding it to Wednesday night fights, but I think it's happening on Thursdays in LA, which is like a big fighting game community event that happens every week. Yeah, it's doing really well, and people are really enjoying the way that the UI works, the way that the game works in general. So hopefully they'll fix this. Please, please, please. Hopefully they'll fix this so that the enjoyment level can be a bit higher without something that's just really cheap to knock you down. Speaking of Nintendo, there is a pretty well-respected Japanese publication called Nikkei, which ran a story talking about how Nintendo was going to stop production on the Wii U very soon. In fact, they're claiming that production on some parts, like some bits of the Wii U for replacement, are already being phased out. Like they're just not building them anymore. Nintendo has come back and said that is definitely not true. And it's hard to say. It's really hard to say whether or not this is a thing because Nikkei has ran rumors of Nintendo before. And Nintendo has said, no, that's not true. But then Nikkei has wound up being right. You know, like they're like a very well-respected newspaper. So they take the time to try and make sure that before they run a story, it's true. But Nintendo is saying, no, that's not true. No, absolutely not. And I think a lot of people are siding with Nintendo because Nintendo has had a couple games do really well on Wii U lately. Like Splatoon did really well. Pokken just came out and people are really loving that. So the idea that they would completely cease production on Wii U elements at all seems very bizarre because they're probably moving units right now. On the flip side, Nikkei is saying, well, they're wanting to make sure that they have plenty of resources fully dedicated to the Nintendo NX, because in terms of the amount of money that they've made each year, like, there's some concern there. So rather than splitting resources, they would want to make sure that everything is focusing on the NX and making sure that that's like a console people want to buy as soon as possible. Even though that may be the case, plenty of people are going to continue to have this Wii U for a while before they're able to afford an NX, right? So they're going to want support for that. It's a rumor. It's a rumor, guys. It might be true, but I kind of doubt it. Like, I know that Nikkei is like a good newspaper and everything, but I really, really doubt that they would stop production on Wii U's this early, like before the NX has even come out. I just don't see that happening. But what do I know? I'm just a girl in the world. Little old me, so don't let me out late at night. Gwen Stefani. As our final bit of news, and the bit of news that I find the most fascinating, so Dark Souls 3 came out in Japan. They have a release date that's like a week or two ahead of us, and so there were plenty of streamers and YouTubers who were in talks with Namco Bandai to do some coverage of the game ahead of time. They were told, like, these are the sort of things that you can show, these are the things you can't. This is how much of the game you're allowed to play if you're live streaming it, things like that, like very, very specific, because Dark Souls fans, you know, they care so much about the story and about the creatures that are being created, the world building, right? So they wanted to make sure that that wasn't ruined for anybody before the game came out in America. So we have all of these YouTubers and streamers who have signed contracts at this point. They're like, all right, cool. We'll get an early copy of the game, we'll be able to play a little bit of it, and then, you know, when the game actually comes out, then I'll put out some for reals content. Cool. So here's the problem, is that for the Xbox version, once it came out in Japan, it was available everywhere. Everyone realized, oh, the Japanese version has English subtitles. Interesting. So they realized if they just went into their PayPal settings and set it so that it only pays in yen, they could just buy that version of Dark Souls 3 and be able to play it immediately. So suddenly, we had all of these people playing Dark Souls 3 on YouTube, on live stream, and just being like, it's not, I mean, I bought it fair and square. I'm able to play this game. I can do what I want, essentially. And then we had all of these YouTubers and streamers who were like, wait, but we signed a contract to not show this game. Like, what are we supposed to do? Namco Bandai has reached out and said, please, 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 please do not play the game until it actually releases in America. We have a day one patch that's going to up the optimization. The matchmaking still isn't up, like it's not working yet. So please, please, please don't play it yet. You're not getting the full experience. You're not getting the Dark Souls 3 experience. Just wait until April 12th so that we can give you the game. And of course, despite that, people were like, but it's out already. I can play with subtitles. It's fine. I'm just gonna go do that. What a goof. Like, what a big mix-em-up. Apparently, Microsoft has done this multiple times, where they've made it very, very easy for people to just buy a game that is not released in America yet, and they have no system in place. I mean, like, a lot of people appreciate this, but they have no system in place to be like, well, that's the Japanese version of the game, and you're not in Japan, so you can't play it. Like, there's no region locking that way, which again, for the most part is like, oh, thank goodness, no region locking. But in this situation, where we're not supposed to have the game yet, like everybody's been told, oh, this is the release date. Some people have bought, collector's editions of the game that they won't get until the 12th. It looks suspicious because it makes it so that people are going to say, I need an Xbox One so that I can play Dark Souls 3, right? The people who really, really love Dark Souls 3 are like, but everybody else is playing it and I want to play it so bad and maybe I'll just buy an Xbox One. So now everyone's saying, Microsoft, are you doing some shady stuff right now? It is unfortunate. If you've been able to watch people play it, I hope that you've been like, oh yeah, that looks so fun. I can't wait to play it. I have not looked at any of it. I don't want to know. Sam hasn't touched it. He got an advanced copy and he was like, nah, I'm not touching it yet. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know until it's the 12th, then I can just play it, So yeah, everybody's different. Everybody has different ways in which they want to consume their media, and some people care about, getting it all pure and some people don't. But this kerfuffle was weird. It happened in the middle of the week. It was just such a strange situation. So I'm sorry, Namco Bandai. I'm sorry that Microsoft borked all of your plans forever. But anywho, that's been my show. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a positive or a negative response, feel free to leave it in my comment section. And if you'd like a Cat Gang shirt or hoodie, the hoodie is really comfy, but there's also a shirt. What? There's a teal one and a black one and a dark blue one. If you're interested, yeah, you can find them on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/dexteritybonus, or I will put the Teespring link in the description. And yeah, they're fantastic. Go and tell Danny at Oryozema, Oryozema, that he is awesome for designing a super, super cool shirt. And otherwise, have a fantastic day. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next weekend. All right, bye-bye. Mwah.